Before we start, let me ask you something. What if you could improve your English just by listening to a story? No pressure, no boring rules. Welcome to Eglish Error Lab. Here, you learn English through meaningful stories. So relax, listen carefully, and let the story begin. My name is Marina, and I am 41 years old. For many years, my husband used to tell me that my body was his favorite work of art. He said it with pride, like a man admiring something rare and valuable. At first, those words made me feel seen. They made me feel chosen. Back then, I believed love was about being admired. When I became pregnant, I truly thought I was adding meaning to that art. I was giving my body a purpose greater than beauty. I was creating our family. I was building our future. That I didn't know that while I was giving my body to create life, my husband was slowly giving his attention somewhere else. Before our son Oliver was born, my life looked very different. I wore tailored dresses and sharp heels. I managed campaigns, led meetings, and traveled for work. I was a brand strategist, and I loved the pressure, the movement, the feeling of being needed. That I had energy. I had confidence. I had a body that responded exactly the way I wanted it to. My husband, Victor, admired that version of me. He loved introducing me as his wife, the successful one. People often told us we were a perfect match, a modern couple, strong, ambitious, balanced. I believed them. I truly thought our life would always feel that alive. But motherhood doesn't ask for permission before it changes you. After Oliver was born, everything slowed down. My body softened in places I didn't recognize. My skin carried new lines, quiet reminders of sleepless nights and sacrifice. And across my lower belly rested a long, pale scar from the emergency surgery that brought my son safely into the world. That I left my job to stay home. It felt temporary at first, like a pause. But days turned into months, and months into years. My professional wardrobe disappeared into the back of the closet. Perfume was replaced with baby lotion, lipstick with exhaustion. My world became smaller, quieter, repetitive. At the beginning, Victor was kind. He told me I was strong. He kissed my scar and called it a medal. He said it was proof of love. Those words kept me going. But admiration, I learned, is fragile when it's built on appearance. Slowly, without any announcement, something shifted. Victor didn't insult me. He didn't criticize me openly. It was more subtle than that. He stopped looking at me the way he used to. His eyes no longer lingered. His compliments became polite, not passionate. That he looked at me with patience instead of desire. And patience can feel colder than anger. That I knew what he was waiting for. The old Marina, the woman with the sharp jawline, the busy calendar, the effortless body. But she was gone, and I didn't know how to bring her back. The distance between us didn't arrive suddenly. It grew quietly, like a crack spreading across a wall. Easy to ignore at first, impossible to fix later. Victor began spending more time outside the house. Dinners with colleagues, late meetings, drinks with friends. Most of his friends were successful men. Their wives were always polished. Perfect hair, perfect smiles, perfect social media lives. One evening, Victor was scrolling through his phone while sitting beside me on the couch. He didn't even look up when he spoke. "You know," he said casually, "Adrian's wife looks incredible. 2 kids, and she still looks like a model." His tone was light, almost harmless. But his words landed like a sharp pebble in my chest. I smiled faintly and said nothing. Inside, something tightened that I told myself he didn't mean it. That I was being sensitive. That marriage wasn't about looks, that I wanted to believe that love was stronger than comparison. So I tried that. I started waking up earlier to exercise. I counted calories. I forced energy I didn't have. I did it for him, for us, and mostly for Oliver. I wanted my son to grow up in a home filled with love, not quiet resentment. Hope can make you endure a lot. Then one night, that hope cracked. Victor came home late. When he took off his jacket, a scent followed him. Sweet, soft, feminine. It wasn't mine. I tried to keep my voice calm. What's that smell? I asked. He frowned slightly and avoided my eyes. A client event, he said quickly. I danced with someone. Don't be ridiculous. The lie wasn't dramatic. That's what made it worse. That night, I stood alone in the bathroom, staring at my reflection. I studied my body like it belonged to someone else. The tired eyes, the softened shape, the scar that once felt powerful and now felt like evidence of something lost. I touched it gently. For the first time, it didn't feel like strength. It felt like failure. After that, the arguments began. Small ones, quiet ones, conversations that ended too soon or never started at all. Victor stayed out later. His phone stayed closer. His presence felt temporary even when he was home. One Friday evening, he stood near the door adjusting his jacket. I'm meeting Ethan, he said. He's going through a rough divorce. I nodded. I didn't argue, but my stomach felt heavy. That night, something shifted permanently. Victor later told me what happened at the bar. Ethan wasn't just sad. He was broken, crying openly, talking about how his beautiful wife had left him for someone wealthier, someone shinier. She was perfect, Ethan said. But the house was empty, cold. We stopped seeing each other. Victor told me those words haunted him. Then Ethan looked at him and said something that changed everything. You're lucky, he said. Your wife is real. She built a home. She sacrificed. Don't lose that. Victor said it felt like being hit with truth he had been avoiding. That night, he left the bar without saying goodbye. When he came home, he was holding a bouquet of dark red flowers. His eyes were swollen. His hands were shaking. He knelt in front of me. And for the first time in years, I saw fear in the man who once felt untouchable. Marina, he whispered. I was wrong. And that was the moment our story truly turned. Victor stayed on his knees in front of me for a long time. He didn't rush his apology. He didn't try to explain himself right away. He just stayed there holding my hand like he was afraid I might pull it away. I forgot what mattered, he said finally. I forgot who stood beside me when I had nothing. His voice cracked. I had never seen him cry like that. Not quiet tears. Real ones. The kind that shake your chest and steal your breath. I didn't touch anyone, he said quickly, like he needed me to know. But I thought about it. And that scares me more than anything. Those words hurt. But strangely, they also felt honest. I didn't know what to say. My chest felt heavy, like it was filled with years of unspoken pain. I wasn't angry in that moment. I was tired. Tired of pretending everything was fine. Tired of feeling invisible. Tired of competing with memories of myself. I lost myself, I whispered. And you watched it happen. Victor lowered his head. I know. Silence filled the room. Not the cold silence we had lived in for months, but a raw one. A necessary one. He pulled a small box from his pocket. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. "I don't deserve this," he said. "But I need you to know I want to earn you again." Inside the box was a simple ring. Not flashy, not expensive looking, just honest. "Marry me again," he said quietly. "Not because we have history, not because we have a child, but because you choose me." I didn't answer right away. Forgiveness isn't a switch. It doesn't flip just because someone cries hard enough. That I thought about the nights I went to bed alone, the comments that stayed in my head, the woman in the mirror who stopped smiling at herself. "I can't promise I'll trust you right away," I said. "And I won't beg for love ever again." He nodded. "I won't ask you to." That was the first promise that felt real. That night we talked until morning, not about fixing everything, just about understanding how we broke. He admitted how pressure from work, comparison, and pride slowly poisoned his thinking. I told him how loneliness can exist even inside marriage. For the first time, we listened instead of defending. The next weeks were not magical. They were awkward, careful, honest. Victor started coming home earlier, not to impress me, to be present. He cooked. Poorly but sincerely. He learned Oliver's bedtime routine. He put his phone down during conversations, small actions, but consistent ones. One evening, he said something unexpected. "You should go back to work." I laughed at first. "I don't even know who I am professionally anymore." He looked at me seriously. "That woman didn't disappear." She paused. Something shifted inside me. Slowly, I started taking small freelance projects. One client, then another. I worked at night, quietly rebuilding confidence piece by piece. Victor supported me without control, without conditions. 1 year later, our home feels different. Not perfect, but alive. We argue sometimes, but we don't compare anymore. We grow instead of compete. We protect our relationship from outside noise. Last night, as we were getting ready for bed, Victor sat beside me and touched the scar on my belly. He kissed it gently. "This," he said, "is where love became real." For the first time, I believed him. I used to think love meant staying the same. Now I know love means growing without leaving each other behind. People think healing is loud. They imagine dramatic apologies, romantic gestures, and instant happiness. But real healing is quiet. It happens in ordinary moments when no one is watching. For us, it happens slowly. Some days were easy, others were heavy. Trust doesn't return all at once. It arrives in pieces, in consistency, in effort that doesn't ask for applause. Victor didn't try to erase the past. He respected it. When I had bad days, when insecurity returned without warning, he didn't argue. He listened. When I doubted myself, he didn't correct me. He reminded me. And I learned something important about myself, that I had been waiting for him to give me permission to feel worthy again. But worth doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. Work became more than income. It became identity. I remembered how much I loved strategy, creativity, solving problems. I wasn't just Oliver's mother or Victor's wife. I was Marina again. Victor noticed the change before I did. "You walk differently now," he said one evening. "How?" I asked. "Like you remember who you are." That sentence stayed with me. We stopped trying to be impressive. We started being honest. Date nights weren't expensive. They were quiet walks, shared meals, laughter over mistakes, conversations without phones. Comparison no longer lived in our house. One night, I asked him something I had been afraid to say. "Why didn't you leave?" I asked. When things felt heavy, when I wasn't easy anymore. He thought for a moment. "Because love isn't about ease," he said. "It's about depth." Years ago, those words might have sounded rehearsed. Now they felt earned. Oliver is older now. He watches us closely. Children always do. That he sees a father who shows up, that he sees a mother who believes in herself, that he sees love that changes but doesn't disappear. That matters more than perfection. Sometimes I still see that woman in the mirror, the tired one, the one who once felt invisible, but now I greet her kindly. She survived something that I used to believe a strong marriage meant never breaking. Now I know it means knowing how to rebuild. That if you are listening to this and you feel unseen, know this. Your value is not measured by how much you resemble your past self. Growth leaves marks, and those marks are not flaws. They are proof of life. That a relationship is not a competition. It's a partnership. And partnerships survive only when both people protect what they have built. Not from the world, from neglect. That if this story spoke to you, remember this. Love that lasts is not loud. It is consistent. It is respectful. And most of all, it is safe. My name is Marina. And this was not just a story about marriage. It was a story about remembering who you are. Thank you for listening.